Do you have everything in order for when you die?
We are all going to die. Do you have everything in order? Does your parents have everything in order?
If you do not, we are pleading with you to watch this video.
What will be discussed, it does not matter your race, it does not matter your sex. This video is one of the most important videos that we have released this year. Please watch the video. I can guarantee you, if you listen and apply the principles, it will be life-changing for you.
And please don't only watch it, but share it with your family and your friends. Hello, everyone. I'm Johnny.
And I am Teresa, and today we have with us an expert, and he's going to teach you and I how we need to plan and assist our aging parents. Hi, Will. Can you introduce yourself to us?
For sure, I'd be happy to. So my name is Will Holditch. I grew up in Austin, Texas. I went to college at Texas A&M, and then I came back to Austin and went to work for the family business. It was a full-service event rental company. We did large weddings, corporate events, F1 racing, political events, and it was an amazing time in my life working with people, their lifetime events, and trying to figure out where the problems were before they happened. So who forgot the generator? Who forgot this? Who forgot that? And so I spent a lot of time doing what's called gap analysis. In 2017, we sold the business, and I went to work for a company out of Virginia. It was a great time in my life. I learned a lot, and then I got asked to join the leadership team. And so we moved to Virginia, outside of DC, and we'd been there about 6 months when the pandemic hit, and we walked in and 250 of us got fired that next day because we went from a $100 million company to a $20 million company overnight. And so in the spirit of not letting adversity keep you down, I did something that I had always wanted to do but never had the time. I joined the fire department in Loudoun County, and they sent me to firefighter school and EMT school, and I ran fire and ambulance during the entire pandemic. My wife was an ICU nurse there at Inova, and so I brought people into her. It was kind of a fun time in life. Unfortunately, it had to come to an end because we ran out of money. I couldn't stay in Loudoun County. It was the most expensive county in America. And we went to Bloomington, Illinois, where we stayed. My wife's parents are retired state farmers, so they lived there. So we moved there for about 3 years. And then we just got tired of the rat race. And so we sold everything we owned, got rid of 99.95% of our stuff, bought a sailboat, tried to sail in the Atlantic, and we had a great time doing it. Didn't make it as far as we'd like, but we had a great time doing it. So that's kind of my story, is how I got here where I'm at.
Wow, well, that was a great story. And we're going to stay on topic, but I have a burning question. Selling all your stuff, getting out of the hustle and bustle, was that a great thing for your life and your family?
Yes. So I'm down 20 pounds on my weight. I'm off all of my anxiety meds and stress meds and all of those. So I'm actually not taking, I'm not taking any of the meds I was taking. I'm down to like just ibuprofen. So it's a slower lifestyle, but I will tell you, it has its own stresses. There are different stresses. Power problems on the boat. We had a snowstorm in Georgia. I shoveled 2.5 inches of snow off my boat. That wasn't in the brochure. So, so it's been a lot of challenges, but we have twin girls that are 6.5 years old every day, and it's been amazing time. Now, when we pulled into Georgia, we put them in kindergarten here, and we started joining the community. So they're going to go do softball. We're going to try out for softball tomorrow. And so we're really loving this very slow, relaxed lifestyle. But I will tell you, it is not for everybody. The stresses of trying to get rid of everything you own, if you think about it, it is so much stuff. It took us months to get rid of it all. Wow. But it's therapeutic sometimes too.
I bet it is. Well, thank you so much for telling us about you. So now, honey, dive on in.
We're here today to talk about aging parents, right? So one of the things I think a lot of people don't really consider is that one day we're gonna have to ask tough questions to our parents, and because we want our parents to live forever, which we know that's not going to be the case. So I know you have a book that you wrote called Strategic Planning for the Golden Years. Can you talk a little bit about that book, and then we're gonna go from there?
Yeah, so Strategic Planning for the Golden Years is a book that I've been writing for the last 2 years, but really has been in my mind for the last 10 years. So in 2015, my wife's grandfather came to live with us. My wife is a nurse. So there was something wrong with Granddad, but nobody in the family knew what was wrong with Granddad. Well, it turned out he had Alzheimer's. And grandmother had just died, and she knew everything. She knew the medical history. She knew where the insurance was. She knew everything. So when grandma died, all that information went away. Nobody had it. And so we spent the next few years trying to figure out what benefits Tony was credited for and all that. He was a Korean War vet.
Wow.
We had no access to the VA. He didn't have a DD-214, and all the records that the United States Army had of him burned up in a fire in 1980 in St. Louis. It took us 3 years to get through the VA to get him the benefits he needed. Now, if you've ever taken care of an Alzheimer's patient, it can be done, but the longer they go into the process, the harder it gets. So in the last 2 years of Tony's life, he lived in a lockdown unit that cost $4,000 a month. And if it hadn't been for his Social Security and the VA benefits that covered about $3,500 of it, we would have never been able to afford it. But it was only because he came to us early that we were able to start looking for those benefits. And so that was an experience. And I kind of tucked that away in my memory banks and then moved on. 2017, my mom gets diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. She lasted 10 months. We were in the middle of doing hospice with my mom when I can remember asking my dad, does mom have funeral arrangements? And the answer was no. And so in the middle of doing hospice, we had to go run to a funeral home and set up funeral arrangements for mom. I can remember the one piece of advice that funeral director gave us that said, how many death certificates do you need? And we said, we didn't have a clue. He said, well, how many credit cards does she have? How many bank accounts does she have? How many? And we said, well, we think about 15. He says, whatever that number is, double it, because it is so much easier to get those death certificates the first time you go around than if you have to go back and get more. And of the 30 death certificates we ordered, we used about 26 of them because everybody requires a death certificate to close a bank account, to close a credit card, to close your phone account, to close your utility account, to close all of those accounts. They all want a death certificate. So that was an experience. And then in 2018, my uncle died suddenly, got a urinary tract infection, went into the hospital. He went septic. It went into his heart valve and he was dead. And I'm standing at the funeral and I'm listening to my aunt talk to her daughters. She didn't know where the checkbook was. She didn't know where her money was. She didn't know how to pay any bills because that was not her job. Her job was to take care of her husband, grocery shop, do the parties, all of that stuff. He did all the financial stuff. She knew nothing. And I can remember my two cousins going, we got this, Mom. We can do this. Give us some, we'll take care of this. And of course they did. It took them some time, but it wasn't the end of the world. Fast forward through going through firefighting school and EMT school, and it was all about preparedness. We used to walk buildings to look for where the fires would be and where the problems would be. We used to go visit patients that we knew were problematic in our area, so we knew how to get them out of their house. We knew what their medical history was. We took our paramedics there, all about planning. And I learned so much there. I did a small stint in a nuclear power plant in Illinois. So I learned all about when, not if, when it explodes or when this happens, when, it was all about, that's all we ever talked about was when this happens. And then my dad in 2022 had a small heart attack. So I asked my sister, I said, what do we know about Dad? I know Dad's a Vietnam vet, but he's never accessed the VA. I know he's got a small pension from the electric company. I know this, I know that, but I don't really know anything. And so I sat down and I started writing out questions. And 168 pages later of questions I thought I should know about Dad. Everything from his personal life, his previous addresses, he's remarried, so he's got a new spouse. He's got my mom. Where are those papers? All of his IDs and all of his VA benefits and all that. And then his medical history. What is drugs that Dad takes? What does Dad like to eat? What does he doesn't like to eat? If Dad has to go in a home and somebody shoves a quiche in front of him, does he even want to eat it? All of those lifestyle questions. And then the third section of the book is all financial. Health insurance, life insurance, long-term care insurance, bank accounts, credit cards, safes, safety deposit boxes. And then the very last section is all about end of care, funeral, living wills, DNRs, all of those kinds of things. When I was in the fire department, we got called for a cardiac arrest, and we go running into these people's house, and there's mom laying on the floor, and well, we're firefighter EMTs. We're here to do CPR. The two daughters in the house, one screaming, "Save my mom, save my mom." The other one screaming, "No, mom has a DNR." And I can remember our officer saying, "Unless you can provide me a written copy of that DNR that is signed, there is nothing we can do but CPR because you called us." And so we did CPR because nobody could find that paperwork. So all of those experiences led me to writing this book. And the more I talk to people about it, the more people go, "I've got aging parents and I don't know where their insurance is. I don't know if they have safety deposit boxes. I don't know what their medical history is." And then they say, "I don't even know how to start the conversation." And so the book is written like a workbook, and you open it up. It's 8.5 by 11. You open it up and you start filling it out. Start on page 1 and you just go through it. And you're not going to do it all in one night. It's too much. You're going to have to come back. And then I tell people, even once you fill the whole book out, you're going to have to go back every year and check what's changed, what's different. Did they add a new med? Did they get off a med? Did something change? And then the deeper they get into their aging and retirement and all of that, you may have to go back quarterly as things change. So this is something that is going to affect my generation. I'm a Gen Xer. My dad is 83, I think, 82. No, he's 82. Sorry, he had a birthday yesterday, so he's 82. Happy birthday, Dad. But his dad didn't live to 85, so it's coming. And again, it's not a matter of when. Well, it's a matter of when. It's coming. It's not if, it's when. It's coming. So that's the idea behind the book.
Well, you've already mentioned things, and I'm like, oh my goodness. Oh, and we're financial coaches, but you don't think of all of those things that you mentioned. So, like in the case with your wife's uncle, what does she need to even have in place to get all of this information, being that he was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, like POA?
So we had a power of attorney. That was done, but the uncle that had power of attorney lived in Maryland, and we were in Texas. And the financial aspects was the daughter had the financial aspects. So Carmen, my wife's mother, had it, but she lived in Illinois. We lived in Texas. And when you got on the phone and started asking everybody questions, nobody had the answers. And so we ended up playing detective. And here's the real problem we ran into, because my wife's grandfather is Puerto Rican. His name when he joined the Army was Sharon Barron. But when you talk to Tony, his name was Tony Sharon. Well, no, actually it's not. It's Jose Antonio Sharon. And it's like, okay, wait a minute. How many names did you go by? And so we started playing detective, and we started with his social security number, and we started with his driver's license. And then we went back and looked at, did he have any insurance? And we started just peeling that onion. And then one of his kids tells us, "Oh yeah, Dad was a Korean War vet." Really? Has he ever accessed his VA? No, he doesn't. He never did. And so then, fortunately, Austin has a huge VA community and an amazing VA hospital. So we were able to go over there and sit down with a case manager and start telling her, okay, he was in the Army from about this date to this date. And that person was a godsend. She dug and dug and dug, because apparently it's not uncommon for Korean War and Vietnam vets to have lost all of their records. And because the Army had a massive fire in the 80s, they lost all of their records. So I will tell anybody, and this was told to me by this lovely lady, anybody who has a DD-214, take it and put a copy of it and put it on record at the county. Give it to your kids, because if you lose that original DD-214, it is a pain to get another one. So hold on to those military records. But it was, when I say 3 years, it was solid 3 years of work that my wife, who was a registered nurse and had lots of friends that were case managers, and we were talking to everybody. And my wife was a home health nurse, so she was really familiar with this problem, but there wasn't anybody that had a solution for it. It was get in there and figure it out. Thank God he wasn't the worst case scenario where Tony was had a massive heart attack, and we had paramedics in the house and people asking us questions and we don't know the answers to. Fortunately, the paramedics will still take them to the hospital and they'll still get treated. But the next thing coming is doctors asking you for medical history and prescriptions, and nurses asking you this. And then there's case managers going, okay, well, your dad or your mom had a stroke. We need to get them in a facility. Do you have long-term care insurance? What do you have? I don't know that most people know this, but if you look at the amount of money you're going to spend on healthcare over your lifetime, over 50% of it is spent in the last year of your life.
Well, I can attest to that because that's what happened to my grandmother. That's why this conversation is so interesting. We've all gotten caught up in living, being busy and overwhelmed. And honestly, in some cases, you don't think your loved one is going to die.
Yeah.
And you think, well, I can wait until they're 90 or 95 before I even care about if they have a will. But it's even bigger than having a will based on what you're saying. And my husband and I were just talking. It does not matter what your race is. It doesn't matter how old you are.
Nope.
Every single thing that you are discussing applies to everyone.
Everybody.
Yes.
Oh, so a good friend of mine, her husband in his 50s died. Well, I say husband, they were exes, they were divorced, but they had kids together. And so she had to step in and try to help clean it up. They almost lost the house to foreclosure because they didn't have all the right paperwork.
So your book is very important.
Very important. And it is the term silver tsunami, as the silent generation and the baby boomers start to retire and go through the end of life processes. It's coming. And if you're a Gen Xer and even a Gen Y, you're going to be right smack dab in the middle of trying to take care of your aging parents, yourself, and your kids. And having been a firefighter, EMT, and in that situation where you see, and my wife, who was an ICU nurse during COVID, people came in, they didn't know anything about them. They were digging in their wallets, they were digging in purses just to get names and phone numbers off of cell phones, because we would pick people up out of their house and they lived by themselves and we didn't know where their kids were. There was no in case of emergency on the refrigerator or anything like that. And so we would grab whatever we could find as an EMT or a firefighter and just take, because they were, at that point we all thought everybody was dying, and to a lot of them did die. But I mean, that was just, it was a really rough time to be in first responders in healthcare.
Yes. And then what I want to add to, Will, is that like in these situations that you're talking about, like we don't know anything about our relatives, but then when they die, everyone is fighting over who's going to get the house, who's going to get the bank account, who's going to get the property. You care about that, but then you don't care about making sure everything is in line and in order so that there won't be any fights. So in my mind, it's my husband and our responsibility to get our things in order. Like our children really shouldn't have to come and ask us all these questions. We should have it together
and be able to provide to them.
Right.
Yes.
So speaking on that, what things do people need to have in place to make it easier on their family members, like before they get sick or before they die?
So I will tell you, living wills, DNRs are important. Those documents as to what your wishes are, but not just having them and sticking them in a safe, putting them someplace where people know they're at. Because as an EMT, when I come running into your house, I have to find that document. I can't go digging in all your drawers. I can't go digging in your safe. So having it somewhere where everybody in the house knows those specific documents are, whether they're in the front office, in a front drawer, here they are. With our elderly people, our paramedics used to tell them, anything you want us to know, tape to your refrigerator. The in case of emergency numbers, here's, call these people. Here's my DNR. Get one of those plastic sleeves that you can just slide it into. Any of those documents, if you put it on the refrigerator and all you have to tell your firefighter, paramedics people it's on the refrigerator, it's so much easier for us to find than if you've got two daughters that are screaming, don't save my mom and save my mom, but nobody can find the paperwork. The other thing that I will tell you is evaluate your own health. Look at your parents. Did your parents die young? My wife's brother died of a massive aorta aneurysm at 41. Is that a congenital heart defect? Is that something that runs in your family? Does Alzheimer's run in your family? Do strokes run in your family? Be aware of what those things are that might hit you. Because if you have a stroke and you're 55 years old and healthy, you're probably going to live 20 years. Now, if you have a stroke at 90, you're probably not living 20 years. You might only live 2. But it's still expensive to have full 24-hour nursing care and all of that. So you have to take into account those risk factors. But the thing that most people, you laugh because you talk about people fighting over the house and the knickknacks and all of that stuff that's in the house. But when your mother goes into an assisted living facility and you look at how much money you have Social Security and you maybe have a little bit of a pension and some benefits, and that's $3,000 a month. But the bill is $5,000. And so you turn around to all of the siblings and you go, okay, everybody's got to pony up $300 a month for mom. You'll find out real quickly who wants to be involved in this and who's just looking for the house or the car or that knickknack that they've wanted their entire life. The other thing that you've got to do, and this is part of my book, is going through and asking them all their bank account information and getting those usernames and passwords and understanding what's going on. My mother's great aunt had a bad habit of writing checks in pencil and mailing them to people. So at some point you've got to take control of the bank account. You've got to take away the keys to the car. You've got to make sure that the house is safe for them. And so you've got to kind of gauge that. And that's one of the things that's really nice about this book, is it opens those doors to those conversations, and the fact that, Mom, Dad, I'm not trying to take over your life. What I'm trying to do is prepare myself for when you no longer can advocate for yourself.
Will, you said something I want to kind of highlight a little bit. Conversation with your parent, or with the elderly, whatever the case may be. How do you go about approaching that conversation? Because that's going to be a hard conversation. It almost feel like, do I really want to ask them questions about their life and all their personal information? Will they think I'm trying to take over?
Or wish them dead so get them stuck?
Right. So how do you go about doing that?
And it's a hard conversation to have. It's a hard one to open. So my dad is a member of the silent generation. His parents were children of the Great Depression. You don't talk about money. You don't talk about where it's at. You don't talk about how I got it, where it's at, who it is, what the flow. You don't. That is a taboo subject. It would be easier for me to talk to them about movies and all sorts of stuff. But that's what's really nice about the book, because you take the book with you. And if your mom or your dad doesn't want to talk to you, go, hey, you know what? That's great. Here's the book. You fill it out. Take your time, fill out all the information, gather, because it gives them something to do, and gather all this information, and I'll help you. And then what we can do is you tell me where you want to put it. You want to put it in the safe at the house. You want to put it in the safety deposit box in the bank. You tell me where you want to keep. You tell me where you want to keep it. Information, it's available. And that's one way to start the conversation. And then you come back the next week and you go, hey, Mom, Dad, how's it going with that book? Hey, why don't we just fill out the first page? The first page is very non-threatening. It's your name, it's your address, social security number, driver's license number. It's everything you've ever put on every governmental form you can ever think of. And then the next page is, tell me who you're married to. Tell me about Mom, or tell me about Dad's new wife, or tell me about, Mom passed away. So, okay, great. Tell me about all of that information. And where's Mom's death certificate? And do we have, or Mom and Dad are divorced? Great. Where's the divorce decree? Because let me tell you, if you end up in court, they're going to want to know that. They're going to want to see those things. And the next page, the next section is, give me a copy of your driver's license, your passport, your immigration card, any government ID. And it's all very non-threatening. And you slowly just kind of work them into the conversation. Sit down with them and have a meal and have a beverage and just talk and go, I'm really concerned that one day something's going to happen to you, and it's going to be my responsibility to make sure that you get the health care that you have earned, deserved, and paid for. But if I don't know the answers to those questions, I can't get you what you need or what you've earned or what you deserve. And This is a slow conversation. This isn't something that's going to happen on one Sunday dinner. This is probably going to take 6 months, 3 months to go through.
Maybe a year, depending on who you are.
Could be, yeah, or who your parent is. So my dad's is going to be difficult, but not impossible. But my dad's new wife, she won't even talk to me at all. So I give the book to my sister because she'll talk to my sister and let my sister have the conversation.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so you just kind of have to approach it like that. But this isn't like we're not trying to sell them gold or reverse mortgage or cars or swampland in Florida. This is all about ensuring that they get the health care that they've earned, deserved, and paid for. So, Dad, if you've paid for a long-term care policy and I don't know about it, then you're not going to get the care that you've paid for. So all you got to do is tell me, here's the policy number, here's who I call. I don't need to know any details, just who to call. Here's my Medicare Part B. Here's my Medicare Part D. Here's my gap in Medicare gap, and those kinds of things. And just keep it when they get tired of the conversation, stop. Don't push. Take a break. Come back the next day and have lunch with them. Come back 2 days later and don't talk about it for a while. But bring the book with you and let them see the book, because then they'll go, hey, we were talking about that. Let's get back on that. And I hate to say this, but sometimes talking to adult parents, especially aging parents, is kind of like talking to toddlers. If you tell them to do it, they're not going to do it. But if you, hey, what about this? Or ask them this question. My 6-year-olds, I ask them, hey, how was school? I don't know. I don't remember. Really? What'd you have for lunch?
I don't know.
It opens the floodgates. They talking about who'd you play with at the park, and all of a sudden they're talking. So, and you may not be the right person. It may be your brother or your sister. It may be one of the grandkids. An older grandchild that has to say, hey, dad, granddad, grandma, hey, can we talk about this? And start the conversation. And once the conversation is rolling, and once they see that it is non-threatening and that you're not trying to steal their money and you're not trying to steal the house, you're trying to take care of them when they can't take care of themselves anymore, it becomes an easier conversation.
Well, this book tell us the name of the book again, because we're going to shoot it up on film.
Well, so it's Strategic Planning for the Golden Years. We are finishing up our final edits now. We are going to be premiered and released with Woodbridge Publishing at the London Book Fair in March, and we're looking at a March 1st, a May 1st release date to the general public.
Okay, so that's excellent for us to know. But I need you to speak on the husband and the wife situation, like when your aunt passed. We're from the old school, and in my mind, he's supposed to make sure that I have and need everything in case he goes before me. So your aunt, she didn't know where nothing was, anything. Can you speak to these couples and let them know, these men know, how important it is to take care of their wives, even in their demise?
Yeah, well, no, seriously. I mean, who knew that my uncle, he was 72, was going to get a UTI, a urinary tract infection was going to kill him.
Right.
I mean, seriously. I mean, this is a guy who was a world traveler and an amazing person and all of these things, and something as stupid as that killed him. So this is what I would tell gentlemen who are that old school kind of guy. I take care of the financial, I take care of the house, I pay all the bills, I know that all of that stuff. Get a copy of the book, fill it out, leave a trail for your children and your wife to follow. If you don't do anything, then the bare minimum of tell her where the bank account is.
Yes.
Or tell her where the life insurance policy is at, or tell her if you have a safety deposit box at a bank, or the code to the safe in the garage. Tell just the basics. But if you leave those kinds of things and in those aspects, right? I was having a conversation with a buddy of mine who's the same way. I'm the man of the house. I wear the pants. I do this. I do that. And he was telling me he did all of that. And I said, great. Where is it? It's in my safe. Great. What's the combination? Oh, I'm the only one that knows the combination. Really? So how good is that going to be to your wife and your kids if you're the only one that knows the combination and they can't get to that information? So it's very important, guys, especially if you're the breadwinners. And hey, let's be honest, women women,
Right.
if you're the alpha female and you bring home all the money and you do everything and you've got an amazing husband who takes care of the house and the kids and does all of that, same thing. You've got to leave them the information they need. And if you don't think it's going to happen, go
Oh,
look at this. Go look at the statistics,
It's gonna
right?
happen.
Yeah, car accidents. Oh my gosh, look at the plane crash that just happened in Canada.
oh,
Oh, yeah.
yes,
I
yes,
mean, really, and DC, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean,
yes.
and those people, they were minding their own business. It wasn't like they were in
Mhm.
the middle of a war zone or something,
No,
or,
Right.
trying to do something illegal or horrible. They were just living their life
and working.
and,
Some of
and,
them
Yeah.
are working.
and working, right?
Yeah.
But what's the saying? It's a dangerous business stepping outside your front door.
Look, now with the planes going down into
Yeah.
your house, it's almost not safe to be there either. They crash.
So yeah, I mean,
Don't know.
yeah. So it's while this book is really focused on Gen Xers taking care of their baby boomer parents and their silent generation parents. Let's be honest, if you're a breadwinner, if you're the person that knows all that information and you're in a household, you need to let them know. And this book is a great way to do that. And a great way for you to be able to sit down with your spouse and go, look, honey, husband, wife, here's the information that you need to know. If I leave today and don't come back tonight, here's the information you need to know.
Okay, and then I'm gonna give my husband the floor. But if we have a wife that's listening and her husband wears the pants, she doesn't know anything about anything. Can you give some words of wisdom to her?
I would do the same thing that you're going to do with your parents. I would go, husband, love of my life. I'm concerned that this could happen to me. Look at everything that's going
Right.
on in the world. Here's the book. Can we sit down and fill out just some of this basic information so that if you don't come home tonight, I know where to look for the bank account. I know where to look for the life insurance policy. I know where to look for the long-term care policy if there is one. I need to know where to look for the safety deposit box. If you buried money in the backyard in the garden, please let me know. Yeah, all of that stuff. You laugh, but I had a good friend of mine. He got a knock on his door one day, and it was an attorney telling him that this lady that was a neighbor of theirs 25 years ago had died, and she had a husband in a lockdown Alzheimer's ward and a daughter with Down syndrome. And in her will, she left both of them to my friend. And because
Oh,
25 years ago, she asked him, hey, if something happens to me, will you take care of my husband and my daughter? And he said, sure, because, everybody says yes, but nobody believes you that you're going to do it. And they were cleaning out this lady's house and they went up into the attic. And because her husband was in a lockdown Alzheimer's ward, she was cashing her paychecks so that she would keep her bank account at almost zero. So she could get every state benefit she could for her daughter and her husband. She had $125,000 in cash in the attic.
now that's a story.
And
That's a story.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
so you got to ask those questions. You got to know where those things are at.
Well, I have to tell you,
Right.
right? Every American, I don't care, citizenship, race, color, we all need this book to
Mhm.
make things easier for our families, for our children.
Just for the future in general. So because these are the type of questions that you might think, but you never want to ask. You might say, okay, I have an aging parent, but I want to ask these type of questions because they may think we're trying to get in their business, and we're not trying to get in the business, but we want to just kind of understand. So when you're not around, what do you have available that we need to know about so we can make sure everything transitions smooth and we won't have to go to battle to try to find a document that's been locked up for who knows how long. You don't know where it's at. You have a combination to get to it. So you don't know. And
Right.
so you don't know what you don't know.
Right. And then what I would like to say too, like even with this video, if you feel uncomfortable speaking with your spouse or your family member, send them this video and that'll give them a clue that they need to get themselves in order. And so Will, based on you being an EMT and a paramedic, fireman, tell the audience like what can possibly happen when they don't have these things in place. Like, can't money just go to the state, or are you in court forever trying to fight for it? If you give up, what happens?
Well, so two things happen. Your loved one dies, takes you down path A, right? You go to probate court, you're dealing with all of that stuff. And to be honest with you, that's actually probably the easier option. Option B is you have a stroke, or or you have Alzheimer's, or you have some other debilitating disease that's going to require you to be cared for years. And a nursing home facility, holy, $4,000 a month, $6,000 a month, it adds up quick. And the worse you are, the more it adds up. I will tell you, if you've never shopped for a nursing home, it's not like shopping for a house. They are expensive, and even the bad ones are expensive. The good ones are ridiculously expensive, and it's horrible. And on top of the stress of dealing with mom or dad now having a massive debilitating disease, you're dealing with the stress of, how do I pay for it? Because sometimes you can bring mom or dad home and make it work for a little while, but the chances of that being a long-term solution are not very good. And kind of like car insurance, after the car wreck, you can't buy car insurance. After the stroke, they don't sell you long-term care insurance. So Aflac does not kick in after the fact. It doesn't work that way. So what we're talking about here with this book is, we're not going to save you from that situation. That situation is going to happen.
Oh yeah.
What we're trying to do is reduce the amount of stress going into that situation. Because if you're having to deal with mom or dad in a hospital, on a ventilator, intubated, looking at a care facility, you've got a case manager from that hospital. If they're a Medicare patient, they have only got so many days they can stay, and then Medicare says they got to go, and they got to go somewhere. And while they'll try to help you find a somewhere, it's probably not going to be the nicest somewhere. Might not be the closest somewhere. If you're in San Antonio, Texas, it might be in Smithville, or it might be in Utopia, Texas, or it might be in Lubbock, or it might be, it's not going to be within driving distance. It's going to be wherever they can find the cheapest Medicare bed they can find. And it's probably not going to be the nicest place in the world. And so that's the stress that we're trying to relieve, because there's nothing worse than, as an EMT, I'm coming into the hospital to pick up your mother, to put her in the back of my ambulance, to take her to a facility that I know is not the best facility in town, but that's my orders. And there's a daughter there sobbing because she is so stressed out. She doesn't know what to do. And a husband standing there he's looking just shell-shocked. Like, I don't know what truck just ran over me, but my mother-in-law is not dead, but might as well be dead. And my wife is just beside herself. And I'm here trying to pick up all the pieces, and I don't even know where to begin to look. And that's the situation that we're trying to help avoid.
Well, it's much needed.
Yeah, I would totally agree. This is great, because some of the situations that you find yourself in, you really don't think that you're going to be in those situations. Just like, my wife's grandmother passed away. I had parents that passed away, and so we kind of definitely understand where you're coming from, because some of these key things, if you don't have them in place, your life really got hard. I mean, pretty quick. And you are definitely in a stressful situation, because now, if you don't have certain things, especially you mentioned like bank account information, if you don't have the proper access, guess what happened to the money? It's going to remain there. You can't get to it because you can't access it. So yeah. So Will, could you give us like 3 nuggets? If you were talking to anybody about this situation we're talking about now, about your aged parents and about being prepared, could you give us three nuggets that you would advise somebody if you was talking to them, if you just met them today? What would you tell them?
Sure, be happy to. So the first thing I'm going to tell you, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. It's going to happen. Now, it might not be your mom or your dad, but it might be your wife's mom or dad, or it might be your cousin's mom or dad. It's going to happen somewhere in your orbit, especially as the baby boomers get older. There's 75 million of them, and it's going to happen. So that's the first nugget I would tell you, is you can't just hide your head in the sand. You got to be prepared. The second thing I'm going to tell you is knowledge is power. When the doctors are asking you questions, when nurses are asking you questions, when paramedics, case managers are asking you questions, if you can answer their questions, you become in charge of the situation. They're not running you over because because they've got deadlines they've got to meet. They've got this. You can answer those doctor's questions. All of a sudden, you're now a resource and not an impediment. So knowledge is power. Get the knowledge. Get the information you need. And the last thing I'm going to tell you, don't do it alone. You cannot. It will kill you. I can't tell you how many times we've gone to houses with 90-year-old women and 75-year-old daughters taking care of their 90-year-old mothers. And the youngest one in the household was a friend who was like 68. Like, no, you can't do it by yourself. You need to get your siblings involved. If it's not your mom, but it's your grandma, then you need to get your cousins and those siblings involved. The more people you have involved in making sure that this person is taken care of, or somebody knows, or everybody knows, right? So if you've got a grandmother and she's 90 years old and everybody kind of goes visits her once a weekend, or somebody's nearby, everybody in her orbit should know where the DNR is, should know where the medical papers are, should know where what hospital she wants to go to, what any of those things. That should be like taped to the fridge, and everybody should know those documents, because I guarantee you the least informed person is going to be the one that is there when 911 has to be dialed and the paramedics come running. So everybody needs to know at least the basics. Not everybody needs to know the Social Security number and the this and the that, because what happens is the paramedics come running, they pick up your loved one, your mom or your dad, and they take them to the hospital, right? That is first responder emergency care. If the person with the information, that the daughter, the son, gets to the ER and they've got the book in their hand, you're in great shape. You're in the right place at the right time. You don't have to be there when the paramedics come, but you want to be there in the emergency room. You want to be there in the hospital. You want to be working with the case manager to make sure that you get what your parent has paid for, what they've earned, what they've deserved, and making sure they go to the right facility, to making sure that they're getting the right care. And so those are going to be the nuggets I'm going to tell you. And those are for everybody. Even if you don't buy my book and you try to wing it, which I don't recommend because it is going to be so stressful, you need to be prepared. And the Boy Scouts were right. Be prepared.
Yeah, so well, we have a young group that mainly watches our content. Can you tell them what a DNR is, please? And then
sorry, a DNR is a do not resuscitate order. And so that basically means that you don't want life-saving care. So you don't want the firefighters and the EMTs, you don't want them doing CPR, you don't want them doing chest compressions, you don't want them pushing drugs, you don't want them saving their life. Basically, if you call the fire department with that, you're basically having them come so that, because the next call after that is somebody has to call the medical examiner and say this person has passed, and the next call is the police, and you just want somebody there that says, yes, this person passed naturally. They didn't have a pillow over their head or something. But yes, I would always suggest, if you don't want to be, and if you don't know what's involved in CPR, I will tell you, it is brutal. I will break every one of your ribs because you're old and your bones are brittle, and I'm trying to pump your heart, and the chances of them surviving CPR and coming back to life are probably not that good. Now, if you're younger, oh yeah, I got a good chance of bringing you back, no problem. But if you're 90 years old, probably not. But I'm gonna try. I'm gonna give it my best. I'm gonna do everything in my power to bring your loved one back, unless you give me a DNR, and then I will stop.
Great information, Will. Great.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Well, Will, again, we need you to tell the audience when the book is going to be released, the title, and how do we get our hands on it after it's released.
So Strategic Planning for the Golden Years is going to be released May 1st. It's going to be released on Amazon. That's going to be our primary outlet. Our hope is at the London Book Fair, we get Barnes & Nobles and Books A Million and Hudson's Books and all those bookstores to pick us up, and we'll actually be in bookstores. But for the time being, Amazon is going to be our focal point. And as soon as I have the link, I will send the link to you. And I'll be happy to send you the cover art so you can see what the cover looks like, because it's a beautiful blue book. And the reason we picked blue is because it's a calming color. And so when you sit down with somebody with a blue book, it's a calming color, and it doesn't make you think it's a textbook or something that's invasive. So,
Oh, well, thank you so much.
Well,
you're welcome.
thank you for all this valuable information, because I would tell you that no matter who you are, this information is valuable to whoever you are, whether you're young, middle age, older, or whatever the case may be. It's valuable information. So thank you for sharing all this great information and your time on Bartelle's Money Talk. And we'll definitely look forward to speaking with you again to have another conversation. And
I look forward to it.
Well, one more thing. If anyone wanted to reach you, how would they go about doing it? If they just wanted to reach out to you and say, hey, can you give us more information about your book?
So my email address is will.c.holditch, HOLDITCH, @gmail.com.
Perfect. Well, thank you, Will, for your time. And again,
Hey, you're welcome.
Look forward to speaking with you again.
And if you enjoy our content, like, share, and subscribe to our channel. We will be bringing you more insights to managing your money.